Leaders in Finland are calling for NATO membership, quote, without delay. The move comes in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Finland's president and prime minister released a joint statement writing, quote, NATO membership would strengthen Finland's security. As a member of NATO, Finland would strengthen the entire defense alliance. Finland shares an 800-mile border with Russia. The reaction from Moscow is not positive. A spokesman for the Kremlin said Russia would see Finland's NATO membership as a threat. Sweden is also expected to formally request membership. So joining me now from Brussels is reporter Terry Schultz. Terry has reported on NATO extensively and lived in Finland for 8 years. Terry, welcome. It's great to have you with us to talk about this. So what is the significance of Finland and possibly Sweden at this point joining NATO, and why weren't those countries members of NATO already?
Well, until now, both Finland and Sweden felt that they were safe enough outside of NATO membership. And there was also the consideration that joining the alliance might provoke Russia on its own. And as they felt that at that point, Russia was pretty much a peaceful neighbor, they really didn't think that they needed the security guarantees that NATO membership offers. That all changed dramatically when Russia started waging war on Ukraine, and public opinion in both countries just shot up from something like the 20th percentile to now in the 60 and 70 percentages in favor of joining NATO.
And so tell us a little bit more about the process, right, of joining NATO. What does a country have to do? For instance, does Finland have to show how, I mean, it's pretty clear how Finland would gain from joining NATO, but does Finland have to show what NATO would gain for having Finland as a member?
Well, both Finland and Sweden exceed NATO's requirements by quite a lot. They are both very well-functioning democracies, transparent democracies. They resolve problems peacefully. They have very highly equipped militaries interoperable with NATO. They spend a large proportion of their GDP compared to many other European countries on their national defense. And basically, NATO officials are telling us that unlike any other accession process for Finland and NATO, this will take less than a day each. Some countries, of course, are mired for years in these negotiations over accession, like Ukraine, for example, like Georgia, and can't get a foot in the door yet. But for both these Nordic countries, it will basically be instantaneous. And it's not just NATO, it's not just Finland and Sweden thinking that they're going to get these security guarantees out of NATO. Both of them bring a lot of capabilities to NATO that the alliance, is not so strong on. Understanding Russia is one big point that could come in pretty handy in Brussels right now.
So you make it sound like it's a done deal. You make it sound like all the boxes are checked here. So how long would it take then for Finland and possibly Sweden to gain this membership?
Well, it's not a done deal because neither government has yet officially applied for membership. What we saw happen today was that finally, after many years, the Finnish president came out and said that he thought it's a good idea to join NATO. His position has never been known, but was, I think, believed to be a bit on the negative side before, of course, Russia's latest aggression. And so both Finland and the government of Sweden, which has not come out and issued a pronouncement like this yet, will have to formally apply. Will have to formally ask NATO if they can start this accession process. And then it could be many, many months until they actually become members. And that's because all of the 30 existing allies will have to approve that. And in some countries, that means going through parliament and other arduous procedures. And I'm told it could take 8 months to a year before they actually become members once they formally submit the applications, which we do expect to happen probably next week.
Right. And Terry, what about the Russian response? I mean, of course, Russia doesn't like this and has said there could be consequences for this move. When Russia says that, what do you think Russia is referring to, and how worried should the international community be?
Finland and Sweden both are very used to Russia sort of meddling in their business. There are cyber attacks quite constantly. There are disinformation efforts in both of these countries. So they're not that worried about those because that's sort of part of daily life when you live in that neighborhood next to Russia. When Russia threatens to escalate, sort of bring nuclear weapons next to Finland's border, that makes people a bit more nervous. What I've seen so far today today is that Russia said there will be consequences and is now threatening to cut off the gas supply to Finland, which of course is one of the usual weapons that the Kremlin uses when it's displeased with a country. But I don't think anybody is thinking that there will be conventional war waged on Finland. But, we didn't necessarily think that would happen in Ukraine either. So I don't think anyone's taking it lightly. But both Finland and Sweden are very resilient,
right.
and individual allies are promising backup for these countries should Russia retaliate against their intention to join.
Right. After the Russian invasion of Ukraine, all former assumptions are being questioned again. Terry Schultz in Brussels, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.